What are some of the essentials or fundamentals that startup founders need to keep in mind to get seed funding for early stage startups?
Yeah, no, I think this part I don't think has much changed between 5 years back to now, and that's what I was telling. The bar is probably still high. It's just that if you had to struggle 8 months, 9 months to probably knock doors and then find that one VC who has understanding of deep tech and who has understanding of early stage risk appetite, now it's probably reduced by say 4 or 5 months. I mean, that's probably the only difference. What is required by a company or the founders is probably still the same. I believe, and I've learned it through my personal experience, which I didn't know when I was raising funds, but I didn't understand how early stage investors think about it. A lot of emphasis is given to the team and the founders, and not much to the idea or the way they're solving it. Because in an early stage, the companies are just such a early, in a young stage and very early stages of their cycle, that it's impossible almost to predict what would be that $1 billion idea at that stage. The company will have to definitely go through multiple pivots. They'll have to adapt themselves to market condition. They'll have to tweak some products. Some companies go through a complete overhaul of the product before they hit a product market fit. Product market fit is when you've got probably an annual recurring revenue and you have a good traction, you have customer base, and that's when you probably raise Series A round of funding. At a seed stage, you don't have product market fit, and investors are very cognizant of the fact that it will take company a couple of loops before they get to that. So the bet is mostly on the people and the team to be able to adapt to this dynamic nature of early stage companies based on market condition, based on internal condition, based on vision changing, technological changes. Based on all of that, it's the ability of the founders and the team to steer the company towards the next stage.
Right.
And that's what I feel is very essential for a company today. The founders, need to be very, very aligned with what they're doing and how the VCs look into it. And my couple of advice to founders also is don't take every investor's feedback or every early stage investor's feedback very personally or try to change your product because of it. Because every early stage investment, they have a thesis. The thesis is built upon domain, the ticket size, the maturity of founders, the team, and all of that, right? Geography, etc. So they have a thesis. Now, if you don't fit the thesis, that's absolutely all right. You move to another investor who probably will fit your thesis. Trying to change your entire product because they gave a feedback, because the feedback is not on you. Actually, the feedback is on their thesis that you don't fit the thesis, but that's absolutely fine. So I think coming back to what is most essential, I think it's a good founding team, and the bet on the founders. Now the founders need to be, if you have done something in the past, right, I think then it's very, very easy to raise. You would have seen people who have sold companies or taken it to IPO and then quit. It's very easy for them to raise funding after that because the credibility is there. But if you're starting up for the first time, then I think you will have to bring that up in your early pitches on what makes you credible, right? It could be some early investments you've done, or part-time entrepreneurial stints you've taken, or basically a pedigree that you've built upon based on some credibility in your corporate jobs or other things. The second part is, of course, the problem and the solution or domain in itself. You have to understand that I think for people to understand what do I need to have, they need to step back and first understand how investing works itself. You give a part of equity or share in your company in return for somebody investing money. And how does that person make the money? Only if you make future rounds of funding, right? Early stage investors, they don't stick on till your IPO stage or acquisition stage. They usually get down the bus either at a series A, B, or worst case at a C stage, which means their only intention is the company should raise the next 2-3 rounds of funding. And that's probably 95% of what they look. Yes, of course, they will also look, can you go towards IPO? Can you be a $1 billion company? Can you go towards acquisition? But most early stage investors don't stay till there. So their money is, made back, ROI is made back in just 2-3 more rounds of funding. So if it is a business that needs to be investable, you need to convince and bring that domain and the problem statement and what solution you're offering in a manner which convinces the early stage investor that, okay, this is a long pole, right? It requires multiple stages of funding, and it is not something where I take $500,000 and then I am absolutely bootstrapped after that. I don't need to raise funding at all. In that case, then it's you can still, go raise seed round of funding, but it's not very glamorous to early stage investors because they need to wait till probably your IPO stage to get the money back. right? So you need to ensure that your company is investable and fund worthy. And as I told, the problem statement that you're trying to solve and how you're trying to solve the problem, very important on, and also the domain in which you're solving, because depending on the domain you're solving, it could be health tech, retail, AI ML, or a B2B SaaS solution. Depending on that, there are different profiles of investor that you need to be talking to as well. The third and last I would say is, it's not mandatory. I mean, these days probably it's not becoming very mandatory, but nothing like having it, because it's not just about raising funding, because early stage investment is probably where you tend to lose a lot of equity and control of the company as well, and undervalue it unnecessarily. So if you want to regain certain terms of the deal, it's not just about raising money, but raising it at good terms for the founders, keeping future in mind. Then it's good if you have some early POCs, some revenues coming in. So it may not be a full grown product revenue, but you have done some services, which is hybrid of product and services, some early validation of you deploying your product with somebody else and then making some revenues. Worst case, having some letter of intents at least, so that you know that, hey, I am not going to experiment and start my journey after I raise money from you. I have certain groundwork done already, and once I take money from you, I will be able to deploy them. So that gives a lot of comfort to the early stage investors, which increases your chances of raising seed stage funding, and most importantly, it will help you negotiate better terms with the seed stage investor.